Sometimes you need to have an adventure with new friends and new places. And when you simply must go for the sake of going, you find your life changes for the better. It's the fourth day of our 400-mile overland journey from Alabama to South Carolina across the Georgia Traverse. So far, it's been an amazing, fun-filled trip, full of great off-roading, epic water crossings, and stunning views. We're on a quest to finish up the Georgia Traverse, and we only have 2 days left to complete it. And we're about to discover that the Traverse has some surprises up her sleeve, storms on the way, and the greatest adventures still to unfold. Join us as we simply must go. Last night we went to bed not knowing if we'd have to abandon our gorgeous ridgeline campsite to rain, wind, and lightning. Luckily, Mother Nature decided to take it easy on us, for now.
Good morning. We got up nice and early. It was still dark when we got up. We wanted to make sure we were packed up in case this rain hit, but looking at the weather, looks like it did in fact dissipate. So no storms, no rain, not even a lot of wind. It was another beautiful night here. Woke up to this gorgeous mountain sunrise that we all got to see. It's been a long time since we all got to see a sunrise together, so great morning, really excited about it. Long day today on the trails to get to where we want to go. So I hope we can get some miles behind us. We only did about 70 miles yesterday, 51 miles the first day. So we got to pick up the pace a little bit, push a little bit further. We've been stopping early, either because we were just really tired or we wanted to make sure we were at camp with enough time to set up in the daytime or enough time to find camp and stuff. So anyway, we're already all packed up. We just got the final things to load in the Jeeps and then reconnect the trailer and hit this gnarly little trail back to the Traverse and get on with our day.
We wanted to get back on the trail early to try and make up for as many miles today as possible. We had no idea at the time, but this might have been one of the best decisions we made. This little trail was just as tight going back down as it was coming up, and it left its fair share of love marks on the side of the Southlander. Ironically, as technical as this little section was, we got through it without any trail damage. Something we wouldn't be able to say by the end of this trip, but more on that later.
Alright, so we've been pushing through pretty well this morning. Our goal is to get to Helen, Georgia, where we'll hopefully find a spot to have a nice sit-down lunch. But this section of trail, it started off with, pretty mild roads and some blacktop, and then we got into these forestry roads. And these roads that have been sort of along the ridge of the mountains have been very rocky. Not like crazy technical, but very bumpy and rocky and slow going. So, we're kind of cruising along between 5 and 10 miles an hour, and it's slowing us down a little bit, but we made really good time this morning. So we should get to Helen by lunchtime, which is the goal. But we're also trying to fight getting there before the weather starts getting bad, because by all accounts we might start seeing rain by 1 o'clock. So we're trying to kind of beat the weather and the time, and these roads are not particularly helping with that.
As we made our way down the trail, we came across a gorgeous waterfall right off the side of the road.
So even though we're running a little short on time, we passed through Helton Creek Falls. We decided we had to stop and at least check it out from the road. It's a beautiful waterfall, and it's pretty large. It goes all the way from there down to there. So it's a really nice view. You can actually feel the mist from here, so it's a little refreshing. But these are the kinds of things we wanted to make sure we had time to stop and see along the way. We didn't want to just do the trail. We really wanted to make sure that we took the time to see the sights along the trail.
While we were checking out the falls, Carver had some other business he had to take care of.
You pulling it right now? Do it on camera. You got it? You got it. How does it feel to be one more tooth less? One less tooth full.
Pretty good. I want to get rid of that tooth all day.
Good job.
Almost immediately after the falls was a small water crossing. This area seems pretty heavily trafficked, and while it was really easy for us in our Jeeps, I'm not sure I would recommend it in a minivan. The sky was getting darker, and so we decided to push on to Helen, Georgia. We finally hit a small stream crossing directly onto paved road, which was a first for me. Helen, Georgia is a scenic little mountain town with one key distinguishing factor. It looks like a little German Bavarian village. It was wild leaving the mountains and driving into the pages of Hansel and Gretel. It's definitely a place I want to come back and spend a little more time at.
I never would have expected this in the middle of nowhere in Georgia. I never would have thought Helen would have been in like a little German Mecca.
Yeah, it's a cool little place. This is actually the first time I've been here. My parents have been here a couple times.
After a stop for some gas and some lunch, we were back on the road and eager to hit dirt again on our way to Train Mountain.
Alright, so we've been traveling the Georgia Traverse today, and we've done really well in terms of putting some miles behind us. The roads today have been forestry roads. They've been very rocky, very bumpy, and a little fatiguing. There's also been a lot of blacktop, which has given us the ability to really get the miles behind us quickly. But as we've gotten signal and we're checking on the weather, there's the potential for thunderstorms again tonight. Now, we got really lucky last night and they dissipated before they had a chance to get to us. But it looks like we're definitely going to be dealing with some type of rain event at some point this evening, whether that's just rain or thunderstorms. Different weather reports are giving us some different information, so we're going to be keeping our eye on that and trying to figure out where exactly we need to camp and when we need to be finding camp. So that's kind of what we're dealing with at the moment, is just sort of trying to figure out how far do we want to try to push it this afternoon, knowing that we still have to complete the rest of the Georgia Traverse tomorrow. Tomorrow's our last day, and I'm starting to feel a little time crunched. Not quite where I'm in like, oh no, we're not going to make it mode, but where I'm like, okay, tomorrow might be a longer day than we expect. So anyway, that's kind of where we're at, and we're still sort of looking at things and trying to figure this out as we go.
As we traveled up Train Mountain, things were looking really good and we were having a great time until we hit a roadblock, literally.
This trip has really been smooth sailing the entire time until now. So this is the back half of Train Mountain, and apparently it is closed, which means now we have to basically backtrack for a pretty substantial period of trail and then reconnect with it and go around. So a little bit of a bummer that that's closed. We expected we'd probably find some road closures, we just weren't sure when, and well, sure enough, we found one. Unfortunately, it's, you know, the day we're in a time crunch and we're fighting potential storms. So not what I was hoping for, but not unexpected. It's just one of those things you have to deal with when you're overlanding and exploring and stuff, is sometimes your plans change and you gotta redirect. So that's what we're doing.
We are right here. We would take and finish Train Mountain, but now that road is closed, so now we got to go back down the original road and come above Helen to meet up here to go to Dick's Creek.
So what kind of timing setback do you think that puts us in?
About 45 minutes, maybe, if we're lucky. We'll see. That's the whole point of this, isn't it?
So we headed back down Tray Mountain, feeling a little bummed that we didn't get to do the backside, and hoping we'd be able to meet up with the trail before any storms decided to come our way. Luckily, heading down the mountain seemed to go a little faster than going up. Eventually, we reconnected with Dick's Creek, which had a couple of little fun water crossings, but would turn out to have some unexpected hurdles of its own.
Another road closed. So this is Dick's Creek, and we had plans of camping here tonight. This is what we were trying to get to, hoping that we could camp in here, and this is closed, which is unfortunate. We were really looking forward to that. That said, there's a campsite right there that is before the closed gates. The entrance to it is right over here. So we're checking now to see if this is private property or public land, just to make sure. If it's public land, then I think we're just going to stay here and simplify our lives a little bit. If it's not, then we're going to have to find somewhere else to be. But it's a bummer that that's also closed, because those are two sections of the Georgia Traverse that we really wanted to do, and both are currently closed. It is what it is. All right, so the consensus is that this campsite is in fact on public land, so we're going to stay here. It's gonna be a tight fit getting the Jeep and the trailer in there, but I think we can do it. So here's hoping that we all fit.
Getting into this campsite was a challenge, especially with the trailer. The path was tight and lined with trees, and it would be really easy to snag the trailer if I made any turn too wide or too tight.
All right, so we got the Jeep and the trailer into the campsite, and as we came in, we realized there's another trail that goes off from the campsite and actually has a water crossing almost right away. So what we did was we dropped the trailer off at the campsite, since we don't know where this goes and what it's like, but now I'm trailer free, so I'm a lot more maneuverable. So we're gonna go explore this trail real quick now that we've dropped the trailer off and see what's down there. And this might actually end up being a cool little detour.
That's kind of anticlimactic.
Yeah, this leads to basically nowhere.
I mean,
except for a very tight turnaround.
If you can get far over there to that side, I should be able to squeeze by you and do the same thing. But I was really expecting like some really cool old looking cabin, like big log.
Yeah, this was fairly anticlimactic. Climactic. I can't say that word right now. Anyway, yeah, did not go as planned.
Yeah, that was a big bummer.
So that was fairly anticlimactic. Climactic. It's a hard word to say right now. Anyway, it's basically a water crossing to nowhere. So, oh well. We tried it. We'd explored. This would have been terrible with the trailer though. So at least we didn't do that. All right, so we are back at camp and getting set up. I got to get my tent set up, but we're starting to get all the other stuff unpacked out of the trailer. What's nice about a camping trip like this is that you start to get into a routine. The boys have learned what they need to do, what needs to get set up, and so I don't have to manage so much. They're kind of able to do a lot on their own, which is really speeding up the process of both setting up and tearing down, which is great because in the morning it's supposed to be raining. So we're going to do another minimalist setup, kind of like we did last night, so that if we have to bug out either in the middle of the night because of weather or it's just really nasty and rainy first thing in the morning, we don't have to worry so much about just being out and having so much to pack up. It's nice having extra hands that you can rely on.
While I finished setting up camp, we tested the boys with getting wood ready for the fire.
All right, so we got camp pretty much set up. The boys are chopping firewood and getting the fire pit ready. I'm starting to work on dinner. Tonight's menu is chicken Alfredo. I'm excited about that. And I think Carver and Dee, what are you guys doing?
Hot dogs.
Hot dogs.
I'm jealous.
I'm kind of jealous too. Hot dogs are good. I'm a hot dog guy. I like hot dogs. Anyway, things look pretty great so far. We got a nice little river creek thing running right here, so we get the sound of that tonight. Hopefully the sky doesn't totally destroy us tonight. Definitely calling for rain around 9 p.m. which it gets dark here 7:30ish at this point, so 7:38, so a little after dark it should start raining. So hopefully by then we'll all be ready to be in our tents and rolling. So a little bit early dinner, trying to get everything done. Tomorrow I am so excited though, because tomorrow we finish off the Georgia Traverse with Charlie's Creek, which was where my off-roading and overlanding adventures began. So it's almost like a homecoming for me, though that trail is very different now. So I'm really interested to see what it's like now versus when I first went on it.
Grandma wouldn't let us play with fire, so she'd let us cook over her stove.
All right, Will, how's dinner?
Dude, it's good. Good stuff.
What do you think, Cam?
It's really good.
Carver, how's your hot dog?
Very good.
As we communed together, we were reminded of just how great this trip really was, closed roads and all. We shared stories and laughed and deepened the bonds of these new friendships. As night fell, we packed up camp to the glow of the campfire and prepared ourselves for whatever storms we faced.
Good morning. Well, we made it through the night without thunder and rain, except for that as soon as we woke up, we started hearing the storm coming. So now it's a race to tear down camp before the storm gets here. So we're gonna see if we can pack this thing up real quick. Not a lot to do, but gotta get the tents down and stuff and get out before the storm hits us. A stunning turn of events. I've gotten my tent down before the boys got theirs down. Theirs is actually easier to do. The rain has just started drizzling. Got to finish packing up, get the trailer reconnected before it dumps on us, but the hard part's done. We're racing the clock now. We made it. We got everything packed up. We mostly beat the rain. We got rained on kind of at the very end, so we're a little wet, but not nearly as bad as if we had gotten dumped on. So all in all, I'm gonna count this one as a big win to be in the Jeep and on the road before the major part of the storm. So that was good. Oh, that's the fastest I've ever torn down camp in my life, I think. I think that was a new world record for the fastest camp teardown ever. That was pretty quick. I'm pretty proud of us.
We may have beaten the rain, but getting out of this campsite with the trailer was going to be a challenge. One I wouldn't come out with unscathed.
Go in, driver. Wait, your fender's caught. Come back. Oh, you caught your fender pretty good. Can you try and back the trailer up as straight as possible? Like cut your wheel, no, cut your wheels the other way. Alright, and then go straight towards that one tree, go straight, yeah. And then now turn as hard as you can to get out.
So the issue is that these trees are sort of zigzaggy and we can't quite, getting the trailer down the first time was easy because we came in straight and then turned, but here we're starting crooked.
It's hard to see with the rain, the whole trailer. Keep going. Very close. Alright, you're good. Alright.
Yeah, so the first time we went through, we caught the fender on a little bit of the tree that was out, so we had to do some maneuvering to get it around that. But ultimately, we got it out, thanks to Cam running out in the rain. So, we made it out before the big storm.
Cam, enjoy a shower.
Since Dix Creek was closed, we backtracked to the highway to bypass that section and meet back up at Charlie's Creek, our final section before finishing the Georgia Traverse. Thankfully, by the time we reached Charlie's Creek, the rain had let up and we felt like someone was looking out for us today.
Alright, so we just got to Charlie's Creek, which is a really interesting trail for me, as it's the first off-road trail I ever did. Now, they've done a lot of grading of Charlie's Creek because it's an actual road and it had gotten pretty bad, and so for the time that I went to it to now, it's a very different trail, but it has a great water crossing at the end, and so I'm really excited to do that even with the weather today. We're hoping we'll hold off enough we can get some good footage of the trail, but I'm excited to be on this trail. I think it's a great bookend for this trip to kind of finish it off where I initially started this whole adventure.
The rain had made the trail wet and in some places slippery. We just hoped it hadn't made any of the water crossings too deep, especially the final one, which would be the biggest water crossing of this trip. One of the biggest reasons for doing the Georgia Traverse from Alabama to South Carolina was that we could finish this trip at Charlie's Creek, which is considered by many to be the best part of the Traverse. And for good reason. Not only is it a beautiful trail, but it's full of fun and relatively easy obstacles. From some rocky features to perhaps the best water crossing on the whole trip, this trail has it all, and we weren't disappointed. Even the gloomy weather didn't bring us down. If anything, the rain and the fog added to the experience. While it's true this trail isn't nearly as technical as it was the first time I did it in my YJ, it's still a lot of fun, and it leads up to this epic final water crossing. If all the things that could have gone wrong on this trip that didn't weren't proof enough, This near disaster proved the man upstairs was watching out for us. As I was flying my drone back over the water, I hit a tree and somehow the drone caught itself just above the water, and I was able to fly it back with no damage. Another catastrophe avoided.
All right, we finished Charlie's Creek and it was still a blast. It was definitely not the trail it used to be, but I was expecting it to be a lot more mundane than it actually was. It was still a very fun trail. The water crossing at the end is still the highlight. Almost lost the drone in the water as I was flying it back. I had the camera aimed and the back of it hit a tree, but it caught itself just before it hit the water, and so crisis averted. Then I'll tell you what, everything that could go right in this particular trip has gone right. Like, it's the opposite of a bad trip. It's been great in every aspect, and even the things that were like, oh my gosh, this is gonna be bad, turned out to be awesome. So this trip has just been so much fun. I'm so glad that we did it. It's just been one of those trips that just lifts your soul.
It was time to finish out the traverse. I hadn't thought this little bit would be boring, but as it turned out, it was some of the most fun and most beautiful sections of the trail we'd seen. People will argue what overlanding really is, but in the end, overlanding isn't really a thing at all. It's a feeling. The feeling you get when it's just you and nature, and you're exploring new places, making new memories, and new friends. For us, this trip was perfect, setbacks, weather, and all. To quote my boys, it was the best spring break ever. And in the end, how can you argue for anything better than that? This trip didn't so much have a destination as it did a goal to fill a void, a vacuum that's left in the human soul when it spends too much time away from creation. And although we'd finished the trip, it felt like the beginning of a much, much bigger journey.
Find the moment and make it. Write your headline and raise it to the sky. No one else can create it. Take your banner and raise it to the sky. Take your banner and raise it to the sky.
We've made it off the trail. We have finished the Georgia Traverse. There's actually technically a little bit more of the Georgia Traverse, but it's an overlap with the sections we've done in the Scar. So we've already done it. I already have videos about it. I will link them up here if you're interested in seeing those sections of the Scar that overlap. But we had an absolute blast. We were at Chick-fil-A to grab some lunch before we start heading down the highway to get home. This will be the last time we air up, but we had an awesome trip. All right, D, Carver, tell me what you thought about the Georgia Traverse.
I liked it. I think the campsites were actually pretty good. Especially the one on top of that mountain.
That was an epic campsite. So this is the last time we're gonna air up and have some lunch and hang out. So D, it was awesome. I'm so glad we got to do this together. Carver, you're the man. Tell everyone what to do now.
Like, subscribe, do all that YouTube stuff, and always stay outdoors.
This is my time.